Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to a special weekend edition of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, RingsideNews.com. We are just 1 week away until WWE Roadblock, end of the line. Two things real quick. First up, I am all caught up with questions, so send in your questions, twitter.com/AaronRift. Usually I'm very far behind, but I am caught up. Use the hashtag PAIV to send your questions. Try to come up with something original, something that I haven't answered on video before, if possible. I would appreciate that. The other thing is, please spread the word about this video if you enjoy it. People ask me what's the best way they can support NoDQ&A video. Word of mouth. Word of mouth can go a very long way, so please share this on Facebook, Twitter, tell a friend, anybody you know who watches wrestling. Have them check out this video. With that being said, let's get down to your questions. First one today comes from Austin West. What do you see Roman Reigns' role being at WrestleMania 33? Main event or mid-card? That's a very good question because Roman Reigns is the current United States champion. I know that's hard to believe, but he is. And the other thing is he's going for the Universal title at Roadblock, end of the line. So what will happen? Will Roman Reigns beat Kevin Owens and become the Universal Champion heading into WrestleMania season? That seems to be what Vince McMahon might like, but I'm not so sure if the rest of us would love that. Or will Roman Reigns fall victim to the same pattern that we've seen from previous Kevin Owens opponents? Will Roman Reigns get screwed over at Roadblock, end of the line, and then have to defend the US title at the Royal Rumble, or will he enter the Rumble and we have that whole repeat of 2015 and 2016? I'm not sure what's going to happen with Roman Reigns. I know there's been some talk about Reigns versus Braun Strowman at WrestleMania, and I think if Braun Strowman gets a big victory at Roadblock, end of the line, then we could see Reigns versus Strowman at WrestleMania, and it could be similar to John Cena versus Rusev from a couple years back, where Roman Reigns is going after the big monster and conquering the monster. The same story we've seen played out many times in the past, but WWE will just do it again because that's what they know best. Or we could see Roman Reigns maybe face Finn Balor for the Universal title, or we could see Roman Reigns versus another surprise superstar, maybe Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. I mean, never say never, right? Battle of the Spears, although I think that one's a long shot. I think Strowman is the most likely candidate right now, but it's still too early to tell. I think after Roadblock, end of the line, we'll have a better idea of what's going to happen and what the plans are for Roman Reigns. This one comes from Austin West, another one from Austin West. I promise this is the last one from Austin West. What is your favorite era in WWE and why? For me, it's the Ruthless Aggression era, Attitude era, no question, Monday Night Wars era. Anybody that lived through that era would say the Monday Night Wars. That was the biggest era in terms of mainstream success and overall popularity of professional wrestling. The only time where wrestling was actually drawing a better combined audience than Monday Night Football. It was a very brief period of time, but in '98 there was that period where wrestling was out drawing football on Monday nights. Hard to believe, but it did happen a couple of times, at least once, maybe a couple of times. It was the most exciting time to be a fan because you had two shows and each company was forcing the other company to work harder. At least WCW was forcing WWE to work harder, but it was just back and forth, shots being fired every week. It was truly a war, and nothing will ever compare to that era, and nothing will ever most likely be able to repeat that era. This one comes from the Kevin Owens Show. Excuse me, the Kevin Owens Show. Hey Aaron, thoughts on the idea of Triple H bringing in Samoa Joe to attack Seth to drag out the storyline a little bit? I am not a fan of Samoa Joe being brought in as the setup guy. Somebody else asked me a similar question, which I thought was really dumb, to be perfectly honest to that person. Somebody asked me about Shawn Michaels being the setup guy to face Seth Rollins at the Royal Rumble, and that sets up Seth Rollins versus Triple H. What's this idea of somebody being the setup for Triple H? If anything, at this stage of the game, it should be Triple H setting up somebody else at WrestleMania. I'm so sick of Triple H being in these WrestleMania main events. He just doesn't deliver. I love Triple H, but him in a high-profile WrestleMania match, I'm so sick of it. WrestleMania 31, I was very disappointed in that match with Sting. I was very disappointed in the match with Roman Reigns, and historically, Triple H has had more disappointing WrestleMania matches than memorable ones, in my opinion. I thought the match with Orton was very disappointing. I thought the match with Jericho was very disappointing. The match with Booker T was a huge disappointment. Really, only the matches with The Undertaker, I felt Triple H really excelled at WrestleMania. The three matches, WrestleMania 17 and then 27 and 28, those were the only matches where Triple H, I felt, had truly memorable WrestleMania moments. And a lot of that was due to The Undertaker and the dynamic that they have. But I'd rather see Triple H versus Seth Rollins at the Royal Rumble. Triple H gets his ass kicked, and then you have somebody brought in by Triple H to take out Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. That's how I think it should be done. I think doing it the opposite way, having Joe or Shawn Michaels, really, Shawn Michaels? Having Shawn Michaels be the setup guy for Triple H? Come on now. And Joe should be the future of the company. Build up a new star. Stop relying on the past. Alright, this next one comes from Beast Slayer. John Cena versus The Undertaker in a career versus title match. Are you fine with this, or do you have something better? Well, Beast Slayer, I know you've been watching the videos because you send me questions all the time. You should know I am definitely an advocate of John Cena versus The Undertaker. Now, it is a dream match. It is a match that WWE has not done for WrestleMania. And yes, I know some of you guys out there are very smart and you'll say, well, WWE did John Cena versus The Undertaker, but that was 14 going on 15 years ago. Nobody remembers the Ruthless Aggression era, except for that fan, of course, that sent in that question earlier. But all kidding aside, John Cena versus The Undertaker is huge. It's the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. It is essentially the biggest star power match I think WWE could do, if you're not including The Rock. Now, maybe Rock versus Brock Lesnar would be a bigger mainstream match, but Cena and Undertaker, I mean, these are two of the faces of the entire company going back 3 decades with The Undertaker and going well over a decade with John Cena, 15 years with John Cena. That is one of the biggest matches WWE could do, and time is running out. So if they're going to do it, I'd rather see, I'm not going to, be a hypocrite and say, oh, I think this is the match they should do, when earlier I said the newer guys should be in the main event spots. You have to build those guys up. Joe needs a big match at WrestleMania, but being the main event, probably too soon for a Samoa Joe or even a Finn Balor. I think John Cena and Undertaker is the perfect marquee match to headline WrestleMania 33 and let Undertaker go out with a bang, going up against John Cena. Yeah, ideally it would be better if somebody like Samoa Joe retired The Undertaker, but Joe's not there and WWE doesn't really have a new star there. So I would just go with Cena versus The Undertaker this year and focus on this year building up your next big superstar. Hopefully WWE will have a new Cena or a new Undertaker. That's really what they need to be able to get the company going on a new boom period. They need that next big star, that next big Cena or Austin or Rock. They just don't have it yet. But for now, you got to have a big marquee match for WrestleMania, and I think Cena and Undertaker is the match to go with. This one comes from Evan. Hey Aaron, if AJ Styles continues on his awesome WWE run, do you think he can be considered one of the best ever? Absolutely. AJ Styles has had one of the best first years of anybody in WWE history. He's right up there with Ric Flair and Kurt Angle, and there's a lot of other guys that had really solid first years in WWE. Brock Lesnar. So yeah, AJ Styles is well on his way. If he can have 4 or 5 years like 2016, he will go down as one of the all-time WWE greats. Hopefully his body holds up. You know, he's getting close to 40, and you know, there is concern he might get seriously hurt with all the crazy things he does in the ring, but I'm hopeful he'll have a solid 4 or 5 years, and he could very well go down as one of the all-time greats if his body holds up and he can keep up the pace that he's been doing in 2016. This one comes from Sean T. Flick. It appears that Heath Slater and Rhino are breaking up, so what do you think of the one-man band feuding with The Miz for the IC title? I would be fine with it, but WWE apparently is putting Dean Ambrose in that role. I think, unfortunately for Heath Slater, he is going to get lost in the shuffle now. I think he had his little run. They did the feel-good moment. I think because fans were feeling so sympathetic towards him, WWE went ahead and told that story, but it's cooled off. I mean, fans have definitely cooled off on Heath Slater. The whole gimmick has cooled off, and I think that's the end of his push, unfortunately for him. I suppose they could put him in a singles run, but maybe they need to give him the mic. I mean, I remember that one promo he did. He showed a lot of fire, so maybe if they give him another chance to talk on the mic and cut a passionate promo, maybe Slater can keep the momentum going or rebuild the momentum and have a successful singles run. I think it's more likely WWE does like Heath Slater versus Rhino in a feud, and maybe Slater will beat Rhino, and then maybe he'll get a renewed push, maybe he won't. I mean, it's really hard to say, but he did show some fire with that promo, and I would definitely consider giving that guy some mic time and see what he can do. This one comes from Izzy5234. Do you think that there is any possibility that Finn Balor returns to win the Royal Rumble and challenge AJ for the title at WrestleMania 33? Unlikely. First of all, Finn Balor has noted several times that WrestleMania is his target return date. Now, is he working the fans? That is always a possibility. I think it's unlikely, but it is possible. It is possible he is making his injury come out to be more severe than it really is, and it's his way of swerving the fans, just like John Cena in 2008, so he can come back at the Royal Rumble and it's a bigger surprise to fans. I would not rule that out, but if Balor, let's just say for argument's sake that he does return at the Rumble and wins the Rumble, I think it's more likely he goes after Kevin Owens. But then again, it just doesn't make sense for him to challenge for a title he never lost. And why would he enter the Rumble in the first place? When he comes back, he should be getting a Universal title shot. So it just wouldn't make sense for him to show up in the Rumble. If he's going to come back sooner than expected, he's going to go right after the Universal title, since he never lost the title and he is deserving of an immediate rematch. I mean, that's what makes logical sense in the storyline, and Mick Foley is the babyface GM, and he would logically give Balor an instant title shot and not force Balor to go through a 30-man Royal Rumble. But then again, this is WWE we're talking about, and WWE logic is quite random at times. I mean, Goldberg destroyed Brock Lesnar, the most dominant superstar in the past couple of years, and instead of getting a title shot, he has to go through the Royal Rumble. So, I don't know. This one comes from Kyle Mitchell. Hey Aaron, with Mickie James reportedly signing with WWE, could you see her being revealed as Nikki Bella's attacker? That's interesting. That would be a nice little twist on this whole storyline, since everyone's expecting it to be Natalya or possibly Becky Lynch, and that would be the swerve. But I think Mickie James might be another interesting person to be in that role. The only problem is I think fans are going to cheer Mickie James, and you know, she's got the legend status, and I think it might not work that well. I think there would be a bigger chance of fans just cheering Mickie James and booing Nikki Bella, so it might not get the result that WWE would hope for in terms of crowd reactions. I don't know if it's the best idea or not, but it would be interesting. It would be a nice twist. Maybe they could do a PG version of when you had Mickie James being the stalker for Trish Stratus. They could do something like that with Nikki Bella and Mickie James, I guess. That's a possible idea. Got this one here from Ravishing Raven. Hey Aaron, why does WWE have such a problem with accents? I think you're referring to the reports about Kevin Dunn not being a fan of Becky Lynch's thick accent. I mean, you have to look at it from Dunn's perspective. I know a lot of people don't want to do that. I mean, the internet really hates Kevin Dunn. And, you know, I think it's a little harsh because Kevin Dunn is one of those guys that really puts together what you see on television, and he has a tough role. I mean, it's not easy. And I could see it from his perspective, where you want the casual viewers to be able to understand the promos, and if there's a heavy accent, fans watching at home might click the television if they don't understand what the person is saying. So I get that. I get that from a television production standpoint. And I think Becky Lynch's accent, it's a little tough to understand at times, but it's not that difficult. I don't think it's that thick. So I do think if there is an issue from Kevin Dunn, I think it's being exaggerated just a little bit. Same thing with Sheamus. I mean, I understand him fine. So I don't really think the accents are that big of a deal, but I can understand the concern. I just don't think that as far as punishing Becky Lynch or having her lose the title because of it, that might be a little bit of overkill. But who knows if that rumor is even true to that degree. You know, some people have their conspiracy theories that Kevin Dunn was the reason that Becky Lynch lost the title. I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's accurate or not. This one comes from Cameron. Do you think that having the draft every year is overkill? Wouldn't it be better to have it once every 2 years? I think it's perfectly fine doing it once a year. It's something to look forward to, and it's only once a year. It's not like it's every couple of months. I mean, the Royal Rumble comes once a year, and it's something special every year when they do it. So I don't think once a year is overkill at all. I see no problem with doing it once a year. I would be mad if they did it every 2 years. I would be pissed. I want to see it every year. I think once a year is perfectly fine and dandy. Once a year, no twice a year, no every 2 years, just once a year, I think is totally acceptable and fine. No problem with it whatsoever. Got this one here from Simon Lee. Hey Aaron, your thoughts on Jim Cornette's commentary with him and JR as a duo? I think you're referring to like late 97, early 98. I seem to remember that time being the period when Jim Cornette was doing commentary with Jim Ross during the first hour of Raw. I actually like that. Instead of having 3 commentators, I kind of like the idea of 2 commentators for the first hour, and then one of the commentators is swapped out for somebody else in the second hour. I like that better than doing a 3-man commentary team. I know WCW used to do that with Tony Schiavone and Larry Zbyszko in the first hour, and then Heenan would come in the second hour, and Tenay would be added. So I like that dynamic better than doing the 3-man commentary teams. Now, I thought Jim Ross and Jim Cornette did a good job. I remember Cornette being pretty entertaining, and I think JR and Cornette had good chemistry together. So, you know, I was a fan of it, and I think it could have gone on longer. I think Cornette ended up doing the new NWA, which was just a total dud of a storyline. So I would have rather he stuck around on commentary for a while. But then again, that would be less of JR and the King, and that was really the best commentary team. I mean, that was magic right there. That'll do it for NoDQ&A video. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding the Roadblock End of the Line pay-per-view. I hate having to say that every single time, but they added End of the Line to Roadblock to make it more special, so maybe more people will subscribe to the network and pay $9.99 because